Welcome back to the Fundamentals of Fitness. I'm Alison, performance coach, personal trainer, and founder of AB Performance Training and Coaching. Today in this podcast, we're going to strip away the noise, extremes, and emotional reactions and focus instead on science-backed fundamentals that build strength, resilience, and long-term performance. Because progress isn't built on panic, it's built on structure. And if you understand the fundamentals, truly understand them, you stop chasing quick fixes and start building results that actually last. In the last episode, we talked about why doing more often makes results worse. We talked about the accumulated fatigue and the stress load, and we talked about the instinct to push harder when progress slows. Today, we're moving into the next phase of that conversation, because knowing what not to do is only half of it. What really matters is this: when progress slows, what should you actually do? So pop on those trainers or grab that cuppa and let's dig right in. Let's start here. When progress slows, your nervous system wants action. It wants certainty. It wants reassurance that you are still moving forwards. And in fitness, action often feels like control. Add another session, track more tightly, restrict more precisely, push harder. Action feels productive. But in high performance environments, whether that's elite sport, motorsport, rowing, tennis, strength training, the first response to a plateau is not action. It's assessment. Think about Formula One. If lap times begin to drift slightly across a race stint, the team doesn't immediately change the entire strategy. They look at tyre degradation data, fuel load, track temperature, sector comparisons, driver feedback. They ask, is this trend meaningful, or is this a variation within expected limits? Most people treat their fitness like one imperfect corner in a race. The scale doesn't move for a week. They assume failure. A workout feels flat. They assume regression. Energy dips for a few days. They assume something is broken. But performance, real performance, requires pattern recognition, not emotional reaction. I work with a client. Let's call her Emma. Emma had been losing body fat consistently for 4 months. Measurements were down. Her strength was up. Energy stable. And then for 3 weeks, the scale barely moved. Her instinct was immediate. I need to cut another 200 calories. But we zoomed out. Her sleep had been disrupted due to work stress, and her cycle was slightly irregular that month. Her steps had dropped suddenly because she was spending more time in meetings. Nothing dramatic, just small shifts. If we had reacted emotionally, we would have created unnecessary fatigue. Instead, we stabilized sleep first. We increased daily steps slightly. We changed nothing else. And then 2 weeks later, progress resumed. Not because we pushed harder, but because we didn't panic. In rowing, split times fluctuate across a season. Early season gains are dramatic. Mid-season improvements are incremental. Late season, marginal. Coaches don't interpret smaller improvements as failure. They interpret them as proximity to physiological potential. The closer you get to your ceiling, the smaller the improvements become. And that is not a plateau, that is progression mathematics. So let's build in some reflection. Ask yourself, has progress actually stopped? Or has it slowed? Have you zoomed out far enough to see the trend? Are you reacting to a moment or responding to data? High performers don't panic adjust, they zoom out first. And before you change anything, track for 4 weeks, not 4 days. If progress is slowing but still trending downward or upward depending on your goal, stay the course. If it has truly flatlined for several weeks, then we audit. Restraint is not weakness, it's a discipline at a higher level. When progress genuinely stalls, meaning no measurable change across multiple variables for several weeks, we don't guess, we audit. And this is where episode 31 differs from episode 30. In episode 30, that was about not doing more blindly. This episode, 31, is about adjusting intelligently, and intelligent adjustment begins with diagnosis. There are 5 primary audit variables, and we move through these in order. Number 1, sleep quality and duration. Sleep is not optional. It is not a bonus. It is a physiological multiplier. Poor sleep reduces insulin sensitivity, muscle protein synthesis, growth hormone release, and decision-making accuracy. It increases your hunger hormones, your perceived effort, and your emotional reactivity. So before you add volume, ask, are you consistently getting 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep? If not, you may not need more effort. You may need better recovery. I'll give you a client example here. One of my strength clients plateaued in her deadlift, and we assumed programming adjustments might be needed. But her wearable showed that she was averaging 5.5 hours sleep for 3 weeks due to stress. We fixed bedtime consistency first, and then the deadlift improved without programming changes. Elite tennis players guard sleep aggressively during tournaments because small decrements in recovery produce measurable declines in reaction time and decision speed. Your body is no different. So what does this mean for you? If your sleep is inconsistent, fix that first. No calorie cuts, no extra cardio. Sleep. Number 2, recovery capacity or load management. This includes too much volume, too much intensity, too little rest, never deloading, and trying to outwork stress. Progress is not just stimulus. Progress is stimulus plus recovery. If recovery can't keep up, adaptation doesn't fully express. Here are some signs that you might be under-recovering. Performance feels flat. You're sore all the time. Motivation is down. Everything feels harder than it should, and you dread training instead of enjoying it. One of my clients plateaued on strength lifts, not because her plan was wrong, but because she was pushing every session like it was a test. We introduced a deload week, and she felt guilty at first. Then her lifts jumped. Not because she became more disciplined, but because fatigue dropped and fitness could show. See, swimmers don't sprint every session. Rowers don't race every week. Drivers don't push qualifying laps on every tyre all weekend. High performers cycle their intensity. That's how you peak. So what does this mean for you? If you've been going hard for 8 to 12 weeks straight, consider a deload week. Reduce your volume or sets before you reduce the frequency. And keep movement, reduce punishment. Variable 3, nutrition consistency, not perfection. This is where people get defensive, so I'll say this gently. Plateaus often come from small gaps between what we think is happening and what's actually happening. Not because people are lying, because humans are messy. Common plateau patterns. Weekends cancel out your weekdays. Calories creep up via snacks, drinks, bites, nibbles. Protein drops and hunger rises. Meal timing becomes chaotic and healthy food still adds up. One of my clients insisted she was in a consistent deficit. And she was, Monday to Thursday. Friday to Sunday, she was subconsciously eating extras. We didn't cut harder, we tightened consistency. Same weekly calories, just distributed more evenly. Plateau gone. Athletes don't wing nutrition during a performance block. They don't need obsession. They need predictability, because predictability creates controllable outcomes. And what does this mean for you? If fat loss has stalled, tighten consistency for 2 weeks before cutting lower. Prioritize your protein. Keep meals structured and avoid all or nothing thinking. Number 4, NEAT, non-exercise activity. NEAT is everything you do outside of your formal workouts. Walking, standing, fidgeting, stairs, general daily movement. And when people diet harder or train harder, their NEAT often drops, quietly, without them noticing. So they add exercise but move less all day, and the net effect is minimal. A client increased cardio and got stuck. We checked her steps. They dropped by 3,000 a day because she was more tired. We reduced cardio, increased steps gently, and improved recovery. Fat loss restarted. And endurance athletes often monitor total movement and recovery very closely because performance isn't just training, it's what your body does with the other 23 hours of the day. So what does this mean for you? A plateau-friendly lever is to add 1,000 to 2,000 steps a day. Keep it easy, make it sustainable, and don't turn it into punishment. Variable number 5, life stress, and that's your total load. Your body doesn't separate stress into neat categories. Work stress, emotional stress, poor sleep, dieting, training, it all goes into the same bucket. So if life stress is high, your tolerance for training stress drops, and the solution isn't always to do more. Sometimes it's to stabilize. And one of my other clients plateaued during a brutal work month. We didn't overhaul the training. We maintained. We focused on sleep, steps, protein, and hydration. When stress settled, progress returned, because we didn't blow the system up with more demands. In motorsport, a driver's performance doesn't rely only on fitness. It relies on the cognitive load, the travel fatigue, pressure, and nervous system regulation. And that's the same for you. So what does this mean for you? If your life stress is high, keep training consistent, but slightly less aggressive. Avoid extreme cuts and focus on the fundamentals that reduce load, so sleep, steps, protein, hydration. So let's have a mini recap. Your audit is check your sleep, check your recovery capacity, check your nutrition consistency, check your NEAT, check your life stress. And the rule is don't change 5 things, just change 1. Now, this is the part where we get practical, because once you audit, you need to do something. But we're not doing panic something, we're doing precision something. High performers adjust like engineers. 1 input, observe output, repeat. The biggest mistake people can make is that they overhaul everything at once. A new program, more cardio, fewer calories, more supplements, more tracking, more stress. And then they don't know what worked, what didn't, or why they feel worse. So here's the structure. Pick the most likely limiting variable, change it for 10 to 14 days, track the outcome, and then reassess. So what do you change first? If your sleep is poor, fix your sleep first. If your fatigue is high, deload or reduce the volume. If weekends are messy, tighten your consistency. If your NEAT is low, bung in a few more steps. If your stress is high, stabilize and maintain. My client wanted to cut calories and add cardio, but her audit screamed under-recovering and low sleep. So we did the opposite. We reduced training volume, we improved sleep routine, and we kept nutrition stable. And then 3 weeks later, she felt leaner, stronger, and more consistent. And then we made small calorie adjustments. That's the order. Think about golf swing change. You don't change your grip, stance, posture, head position, tempo, and club path all in one session. You change one thing, you embed it, then you build. Training is the same. So let's have a little bit of a reflective question for you. What is the one lever you've been avoiding because it feels too simple? Is it your sleep, steps, deload, or consistency? And are you trying to solve a systems problem with more willpower? So what does this mean for you? Here's your plateau protocol. Keep your training frequency the same. Adjust volume or recovery first. Add steps before adding intense cardio. Tighten consistency before cutting lower. And don't chase perfection, chase repeatable structure. So this section is where we zoom out, because the deeper truth is that progress slowing is normal, it's expected, and the closer you get to your potential, the smaller the margins become. And this is the point where identity matters. Because if your identity is, I'm only succeeding when results are dramatic, then you'll always feel like you're failing once you leave the beginner phase. High performers don't expect dramatic forever. They expect marginal gains. They respect the process. One of my clients said to me, I just want it to feel like it did at the start. And I said, it won't, because you're not a beginner anymore. And that's not bad news. That's proof you've progressed. The job now is to become someone who can win on smaller margins. And that takes patience and structure. So in elite sports, the difference between podium and fourth is tiny. It's sleep, it's recovery, it's decision-making, and it's consistency, not more effort. And the athletes who last aren't the ones who push hardest every day. They're the ones who adjust intelligently and stay healthy enough to train consistently for years. So let's have some more reflection questions. Are you trying to win a short-term battle or build a long-term body? Are you chasing intensity because it feels productive, or building structure because it works? What does this mean for you in your mindset shift? And here's your reframe. Plateaus aren't proof you're failing. They're feedback that you need a smarter lever. Your job isn't to do more. Your job is to do what works consistently long enough for it to matter. So if progress slows, here's what you do. You don't panic. You zoom out. You run the audit. Sleep, recovery capacity, nutrition consistency, NEAT, and life stress. Then you change one lever at a time. You track, you learn, you repeat. That's how high performers operate, not with drama, with structure. So thank you for listening to the Fundamentals of Fitness. And if this episode has helped you feel calmer and clearer about what to do when your progress slows, share it with someone who needs structure instead of stress. And if you're enjoying this podcast, make sure you follow or subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And next time, we're going to talk about identity and why the way you see yourself can influence your results more than your program ever could. Again, thank you for listening. Thank you for trusting me with your time, and I will see you in the next episode.